demo invoices completed and getting those through there.
Okay, were these on condemnation lists, or did property owners agree to them, or?
It's a combination. They're part of the 25 properties that we demolished last fiscal year.
What were the circumstances on the one of sewer cleaning? Was that sanitary sewer or storm sewer? Or?
It would have been a sanitary sewer. I'm sorry, what was the address on that one?
1407 West 3rd Street.
Yes, sad situation. Elderly lady there recently lost her husband, had no idea that the sewage was welling up and actually coming out of the clean out into the neighbor's yard. She was caught completely off guard, and we did what we needed to do to protect the kids next door.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about any of the citations? If not, we'll move on to approval of the liens. I believe we had 9, and we'll take them all as a lump unless something is out of the ordinary about one of them.
Okay, thank you. The first property is 2515 Carry Back Court. They're non-compliant with a notice of violation to remove a camper from the backyard and get it into a designated parking area. Do have the lien in the amount of $300, essentially, again, non-compliant. Next property, 2036 Cullen Avenue, lien in the amount of $473.50, and that was for contractor mowing twice this fiscal year in this mowing season. Next property, 708 George Street, lien in the amount of $1,095.40 for abatement, which included securing windows and doors, and there should be some mowing included with that. Next property, 1634 Lee Court, abatement lien in the amount of $560 for mowing 2 times. Occupancy prohibited has been posted on that property. Next property, 2408 French Street, the lien in the amount of $693.66 for removing debris from the alleyway, 3rd offense. The next property, 625 Poplar Street, lien in the amount of $380. That was for the contractor initially mowing the property in May of this year. 2408 French Street, this is the lien for the daily fine, which started 2/25 and has been in non-compliance for 168 days. The lien is in the amount of $17,400. The next property right next door, 2410 French Street, exactly the same situation. The lien is in the amount of $17,400.
We had 3508 Comanche Place listed in our liens also.
Correct. It was originally listed, but it has sold. Did sell to Master Commissioner sale on Monday. Therefore, we will not file the lien. We will be presenting the citation to the new owners, and they'll have the opportunity to pay it. And of course, we would then go on and file the lien if they decide they're not going to pay it.
You've heard the request by the city to file these 8 liens, so I hear a motion to approve filing the liens.
I'll second.
Second.
I'll second.
Is there any questions or comments about any of these?
I would just like a clarification maybe for those people that are listening in or just for the record, but by the time it gets to this level, how many times have these people been contacted in an attempt to give them an opportunity to clean up, pick up, mow the grass, all that?
Are you speaking particularly of the French Street property?
Well, I know that one's been on the market, I'm on there for quite a while, but in general, I have, since I've been on this board, I've had people say, you guys, no, they're contacted numerous times.
Absolutely.
By mail, you guys drop by there, it's in every attempt to try to fix the problem, and even find out if it's fixable, and if not, maybe even find an answer for them. And I think that needs to be said. I don't know that I need to be one saying it, but I want there to be an understanding that there's a real effort on the part of the city to work with these property owners before any action like this is taken. And by the time something gets to the level of these properties on French Street, I mean, and I've been by there, I've seen the properties, and it's intolerable. And you got to be considerate of the people who live around this neighborhood that have to live with that. And to have a property owner there that's simply ignoring it and not willing to take any effort is, I think this is due cause, and I think it's time to act like that. But I like that to be known. I'm stating it, but I know you guys do a great job in communicating as much as you possibly can before it ever gets to this level. So by the time it gets to this point and the board is asked to act, I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't, in my opinion. It's high time that action was taken like that, so.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Yes, having done this as long as I have, we do make several attempts before it gets to the point of issuing a citation. We kind of see that as, well, not the last resort, but it is the beginning of the end, if you will. And then we have no choice but to get it to the point where it is in your all's hands so that you can then help us get compliance from these citizens.
Right. I know some property owners, when they finally gets to the point where they get a citation, then they respond favorably, and they paint or they cut the grass, or they take it on it because they know it's a serious matter. But then there are those that just will not comply.
Yes, and to speak a little further to that, David and I have both had citizens essentially thank us for providing the extra incentive to go on and get it done. Unfortunately, sometimes that's in the form of a citation, but
Right.
They have actually thanked me for giving them what they needed, the kick in the pants, however you want to say it, to finally go on and do what they needed to do.
Yeah, that's understandable.
If I could add as well on that, particularly in the case of the French Street property, I normally, Joe and David, they go about their business, they take care of things, one time, rarely do I get involved, as going to the homeowner or whatever. That one in particular is one that I've been to, talked to the folks a couple of different times. I've driven by that property probably 40 or 50 times over the years. It's one that we've made, one that we have made every attempt to try to get something done on the property. And I'll be the first to tell the homeowner, we don't want your money. We just want it cleaned up.
Yeah.
And we will work with you to the best of our abilities in doing this. And most of the time, you can work out an agreement with the folks, but you do have those cases where they don't care what their neighbors think, don't care what you think, bury their head in the sand and think it's going to go away. But now, the one with French Street now has got up to, $17,000 there.
Yeah.
And, and I hate it that it has got to that particular point in time. But, we've made every opportunity in the world to try to get something done
Sure.
on these, and it just has
Noticed
not
one of the
helped.
properties, in reading the notes for this meeting, one of the properties had been, the city had mowed their lawn 9 months in a row, and for the amount they're gonna be cited, they could have bought a pretty nice lawnmower.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with a little bit of effort. And I don't personally understand that logic, but that's what we're up against sometimes.
I don't understand the mindset
Yeah.
of it, but anyway, that one in particular, the French Street, I've personally been in touch with the attorney that handles the actual filing of the foreclosure action, and that one is for those neighbors who have called that may be listening in today. I know that unfortunately, the law is doesn't work in a very fast process.
Right.
At times, but that is one that, God willing, it hopefully will be sold within the next 2 months. So anyway, anybody that's out there that's a neighbor that's listening in, that one is one that we've put a lot of effort into, and hopefully there will be some sort of relief brought to them in the,
Sure.
soon.
All right.
After that.
Thank you.
I just thought I'd throw that in.
no.
I normally am not one that, gets involved in that. David and Joe take care of everything, do a great job of doing that, but they do ask me to come in occasionally and come out and look at a property, talk to the homeowner, and that's one that
Sure.
I've been involved with.
Well, I think we all have to take it serious. Just those of us on the board, once it comes to us, I mean, I've taken the time, and I think we should take the time just to drive by and see these places face to face, one-on-one, just to get a good one-on-one look at it, and I do that. Not passing judgment or anything, but really just to make myself familiar with the property, and again, to see what we're up against. We're all part of the community. This isn't any kind of effort to do anything wrong. It's a part of trying to do everything right and trying to make Owensboro and keep Owensboro what Owensboro is. So we appreciate your effort.
Any other comments on any of the liens? If not, all in favor of approval to file the lien, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. We'll file them. I believe we have 12 pieces of property on our agenda. Most of them we have discussed in the past, but we'll go through them and get a report on them, see if there's any actions or anything else that can be done at this point. First one is 1022 Cottage Drive.
I did go by and speak with Mr. Quisenberry, requested to get the truck out of the yard. He has done that. I also asked if he would be willing or amicable to have the city procure a painting contractor. He was agreeable to that, and in fact stated that he already had the paint. Not physically capable of doing more than an hour or so of work at a time, especially in the heat. So he said that yes, he would consider that. So I made a couple of calls, and as of right now, I have not gotten a painting contractor to go by and give me any ideas. So I've certainly not given up on that and feel like that may be a good option.
Okay. Yeah, just getting a coat of paint on there would do a whole lot toward making the neighborhood look a little better.
Yes, it would.
That's one I visited as well, less than an hour ago. Drove by there, and it does stand out among all the others. Certainly want to look into the legality of what we would need to do to be able to bring in a contractor, but we do that to, put down roads and other things, so I don't think it would be something that would be a possibility, and him being in the physical condition that he is in, that might be the way to go. I hadn't thought about that previously, but I like that idea.
I was considering it from the standpoint of that being an abatement. It wouldn't be physically hauling off any junk, but it would be, we would issue a citation and then ultimately file a lien so that in due time we could recover our costs for that.
Currently working.
I honestly can't say. I have not seen him at work, and I have not discussed that with him.
I don't know if he mentioned that, no.
He had mentioned that with regard to why it hadn't been, the work hadn't been done in years past. But I don't know if that's his status now. With regard to contractors, it's hard to find a contractor to do anything. They're probably not calling him back because they don't want to, it's because they're all busy. It seems like if you want to work right now, you got a job. But I think it's a great option, I really do.
Anything else on 1022 Cottage Drive? If not, we'll move on to 1419 Alexander Avenue. You were scheduled to have a meeting on that one.
I did. I invited the police department to come with me. Then got a towing service involved. The camper has been removed from the property. A large amount of junk and trash was removed from the backyard. Individuals primarily moved out. In fact, from what I understand, the male party is now incarcerated on some pretty serious charges resulting from something completely different. I did put the homeowner and the female occupant of the camper in contact with the center. Erica Wade and that group are working to provide whatever assistance is available and work through that process. I do see some good coming from it already. Fortunately, not quite as fast as I would like to see it, but exterior is improved. However, it is definitely in need of mowing again, and there is still some residual junk that needs to be removed. Working through that as best we can.
Sounds like there is some movement on it, so that's some progress being made.
I spoke with Erica Wade about it recently, and I know that they've put the property owner in touch with several services for meals and transportation and things like that. But maybe she had mentioned that there are church groups and stuff that actually go out and do mowing and things like that. So maybe that's a long-term option for the lady that lives there. The fact that she's disabled obviously puts her at a serious disadvantage about doing things like that, you know. So,
Agreed.
yeah.
I appreciate that referral. Thank you. Oh, was it back up? Okay. Y'all want to see what you missed?
Sure, sure.
Fuss at me, Tim, I moved my microphone.
Oh, oh, right there. Yeah, right in front of me. Thanks.
Here's the picture, here's the truck that was in the front of it. Grass is definitely in need of mowing. Patch of Johnson grass over here in the corner really makes it look bad. Camper had been sitting right here in this area, by there the weekend, I'm sorry, the Monday morning after the trailer was removed, there was a small tent right here. Where the female occupant had been sleeping.
Better than,
Is that stuff still there?
That stuff is currently still on site. It's behind the storage building, between the storage building and the house. So it's not necessarily out of ordinary view, but it's, you have to look for it to see it. House next door is vacant. And then the one on this side also has some items in the yard that should be addressed.
Mine?
Back where? Back here? I'm sorry.
Anything else on 1419 Alexander Avenue? If not, we'll move on to 521 East Parish Avenue. This is one that we voted to put on the demolition list at the last meeting,
Correct.
so I doubt there's been any much changes since the last meeting.
Do have a good update. The heir to the property, who is also the power of attorney, has agreed to let the city demolish the structure. That removes a whole lot of the red tape involved in the demolition. That paperwork is in process. city attorney and myself had a conversation with her after she had contacted the city regarding liens and letters and so forth that she'd been receiving on her father's behalf.
It was a very, very positive, Joe and I had a telephone conversation with her. Was it Monday morning or Tuesday? Monday.
I believe it was Monday.
The lady that we spoke to was the daughter of the owner, and he suffering from, I think, Alzheimer's and other medical ailments. Had a very nice conversation with her. She lives in Louisville with her family. She's very much aware of the condition of the house. She had grown up in it and had been back to visit. We spoke with her and told her about what the process normally was, what the city was willing to do, that we could hire a contractor to come in, demolish the property, get the lot into a condition that it could potentially be sold. Explain to her that we carry that financial burden, that after the property, after the house had been demolished and everything had been done, we would file our lien against the property, that ultimately, if she wanted to retain the lot, that we were willing to work out an agreement with her to let her pay all at one time, or even make payments or anything like that. She said that she was not really interested in retaining the lot, and so she was willing for the city to be able to demolish the property and then us add it to our foreclosure list. I've told her that we normally attempt to collect as much as we could in being reimbursed for our finances and our efforts involved in that. That we normally would file a foreclosure action, it would be sold at the courthouse steps, and that we would be paid from that. I explained to her that with her agreement to let us demolish, that we normally do not pursue the property owner personally. We often have a loss in situations like that. She was ultimately willing to let the city demolish, file our lien, and go forward if we wanted to. One thing that I did not mention to her at that time, that I called her back and talked to her about, is taking a deed in lieu of foreclosure. That if she let the city have the property, after the demolition, we take steps to sell the property. It's right there on foreclosure, or right there on Parish Avenue, pretty good location. I don't know particularly what could be done with that lot. But anyway, had a very good discussion with her. Sent to her an agreement, let us step in and go on and demolish the property, see from there. So hoping that in the month or months to come that we've had a good report to you that the property is gone or the house is gone. We have a clear lot that's available to somebody that might be wanting to do something with it. Be glad to answer any questions that you all might have about the conversation that we had with the lady. She, as I said, she is the daughter of the owner, and fortunately, it couldn't have been any better. She does have power of attorney, so she does have the authority to either sell the property or consent to its demolition there. So that's a big thing, when you're dealing with somebody that has mental handicaps and things of that sort. So glad to answer any questions.
Has she been involved in this process all the time, or has she just recently gotten involved?
I think didn't get the impression that she had just found out about it or anything like that. I think her father lived in the house up until last few years, hadn't he?
I believe he was occupying the one on Sweeney Street.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think anyone has occupied that one for 5 or 6 years, to my knowledge.
I'm not familiar with the condition of the Sweeney Street property, but she did call back and ask, what taxes and things may be due on that particular property as well.
What was the fire department still working?
Yes, that's a very good possibility. Still in early stages, don't know 100% that that's going to happen. Either way, the next step is going to be the removal of the asbestos siding from the outside of it. That will happen that has to happen before it can be demolished. Used for training or not, that will have to take place.
Anything else on this property? Now we'll move along to 1604 East 4th Street.
Mr. Lambert has apparently contacted a realtor and has now put this property up for sale. Still continues to be minimally compliant.
That's another one I drove by just before lunch. And, Joe's explanation is pretty accurate, minimally compliant, but in much better condition than dealt with the previous owner. Unfortunately, the previous owner used to have tell it from the photo, had an area in the back that, I don't even know if it was a fence that she had, but basically it was hidden. All of her junk was in the very back of the lot. Their normal view of very bad condition.
It was deplorable. Current owner hold, I believe, 12 of the 30 cubic yard roll-off dumpsters of everything away from that property. Tremendous amount of debris.
Neither here nor there, but do you know what the current owner, do you know what their original intent was just to clean it up and resell it, or are they gonna do something different with it?
He told me that he was going to put his office there. Going to have it all cleaned up and put his office in that space. I don't know if COVID has put a stop to that, or if perhaps he's fallen ill.
Right.
Don't know. Oil and gas business. He moved back to Owensboro after being in Texas for several years. Originally from Owensboro and knew the property before he left, so surprised to see it in the condition it was in when he bought it.
He is one that I spoke to not too long after the sale, which has been years ago. And I think at that time, he would like to have backed out of his bargain, if you will. There was some, city had a number of different liens against it. I don't know that he had done any sort of title search on it to be aware of what all was doing on that. But as I recall from that time, his intention was to come back and basically make some sort of office out of it. But he had some connection to it in boyhood. I don't recall what that was.
You know, when a property,
A restaurant at some time or
yeah,
another.
it was Whitmer's Cafe at one point.
That's
Yeah.
maybe what it was that he had a connection to.
Yeah. Well, most of us East Enders would remember it. But you know, when a property looks this bad and you say it's a big improvement, it gives you some indication of how bad it really was.
It was,
It's horrible.
I wish, I don't know if Joe's got any photos of it from the way that it was. You don't have to go digging right now or anything like that, but you would be amazed if you saw the previous version of it.
How did this get in that condition? Did people bring things there? He brought things, somebody brought things there to cause it to be in the condition that it was in?
That's, you know, the people that owned it previously, and I don't know how they got their hands on it, but it was a lady that attempted to live there. And one thing I remember the most is that, you know, even with all that extra junk that they had, of course, swine or pork is banned within the city limits regardless of what kind of pork. And she was raising pot-bellied pigs there in addition to everything else. And I know there's a couple of letters about that.
She was, well,
It
how
was
did she
just-
contain them?
I'm sorry?
How did she contain?
A lot of people, I don't know much about them, but a lot of people have them in their homes as a pet.
That's exactly the case. It was her pet. Unfortunately, she, at the time, was working the insurance business, apparently in conjunction with her mother. Her mother fell ill and was not able to continue in the business, so she kind of took over. Then there was a fire at the house that she had been living in, so essentially she moved into the business with a lot of fire damaged items, and pretty well just went downhill from there.
But I guess just over time, she moved in all of that stuff, and there was a lot of stuff.
Anything else on 1604 East Fourth Street? All right, let's move on to 3221 Allen Street. Any more complaints or citations issued on this one?
No, I have not heard any further complaints. Photographs kind of tell the story. It's different than it used to be, but I can't say that it's any better.
How long ago were those photos?
Monday the 17th.
Somebody's living there, right?
Yes.
I know a month or so ago, they had made some improvements there, but it looks like they brought it all back.
Yeah.
Can any of the board members identify this structure that has recently been dealt with?
Smokehouse. Pork.
Yeah.
Brand new, isn't it?
Outlet for a door, but hey.
Shed looks like it's leaning a little bit.
Unfortunately, when they
know what
moved
I
all the
think.
stuff that had been piled there, it just kind of leaned over.
I know what I think that is. I think that's a deer house that's probably going to be transported somewhere. Not from it, that'd be my guess. Maybe not. You know, we're in a situation right now with the COVID and the governor's orders that we are limited on what we can do as far as really taking some serious action beyond citations and liens. So you find yourself, we're talking about the same properties every month and not seeing a lot of progression, and that's why we're limited on taking any aggressive action in some cases. It's a shame.
His citations, is the last time that we issued citations? I know this has been going on for a couple of years, because I remember them coming to we had a hearing over a year ago. That time, I think Wayne was working with them and had some good results. Backslid.
In reading through the notes here, there was a foreclosure action that was
Right, they filed bankruptcy, didn't they?
correct. So unless we're going to file liens post les pendants, don't know that we're going to get much action. Obviously, we can present any citations at the sale, at the foreclosure sale, and be reimbursed that way.
Somebody living there now?
Yes. Same, it's owner occupied.
In the case of a foreclosure, does it go forward in our situation, current situation with the COVID and the governor's orders and things like that? Does that proceed, or are they at a standstill?
It's kind of hard to say at that. I know back in March, the Chief Justice of the Court issued an order, and basically, other than emergency type things, domestic violence, of course, the criminal dockets and things of that sort, but,
Right.
kind of put things held in abeyance. And so that has been lifted since then. And the courts are starting to go back and catch up and trying to go back to normal.
Right.
So, any foreclosure action that's been filed on that, and I'll admit, I don't know what the status of, if we go through with one, or did we conclude?
It was involved in a foreclosure by a mortgage holder, I believe.
That's right. It wasn't ours. That's why.
Yes.
But anyway, those type of things, now that, the Chief Justice's order has been lifted, they should proceed on with what was being done previously.
How does
That
the-
is something that I can, the board would like, I can try to make some attempts to look through the court file and just see kind of what's going on with it and make a report back to you. Action. But it's certainly one that I think we could go on and start issuing citations on it. May not be able to have a hearing at this particular point, but, the fact that somebody may have filed bankruptcy, normally there's an automatic stay to proceedings
Yeah.
like that. Attempt of person that has filed bankruptcy can kind of get back up on their feet, but that does not excuse you from violations, crimes or violations of law, things of that sort. So I don't see that there's anything there that will prohibit us from filing notices of violation or even citations.
Right. I'd recommend that's our position to do that we proceed and allow you to go
Yeah.
ahead and do that. I heard the word years again. This
Yes.
has been going, this is not something that happened last month. This has been going on with these property owners for years.
And that's the worst part about it, we don't have many, but we have, unfortunately, several out there that said, it's been going on for years. They're not strangers to the process. They could be doing something.
Yeah.
You know, they know what the rules are, but for whatever reason, they choose not to comply. At least two that I know of. Because like I said, Wayne Shelton worked with the husband there for a while. Some of the newer folks, Glenn and Aaron, is aware of, what was it? He had that truck pulled up. What was his ranch made of?
2x6.
Had some 2x6 wooden ramps pulled up that he was working underneath his truck, you know, on something that was very, very unsafe. And I think that's when Wayne kind of stepped up and volunteered to get involved to try to work with them. And like I said, it seemed to help there for a while, but then it went back to the old ways.
He's supposedly in some kind of a landscape business, and that's why
Yeah.
all this stuff is around his house.
Yeah. You know, and that's one that I think perhaps, you know, with the board's permission, Joe and I can start focusing on and meet or contact them and see if I can't meet with them, have a discussion as to what they're doing and what's in violation of city code and what we're going to require. You know, this is one that I don't know that the $100 per day fines always work very well. But this is one that may be appropriate to for me to sit down with them and explain, you know, what may be coming for them. If you know, we've been trying to work with you now for a couple of years, and nothing gets any better. In fact, it gets worse like it is right now.
That would be appropriate.
That might stimulate the interest.
Okay. Well, I will make a point to, I'll see if I can't set up a meeting with them, even if it's just me going out there and standing in the yard talking to them.
It's one of those situations where you want to look back and just shake your head, and it's not.
It is.
We talked about another situation where the lady is disabled, there's things she can't do, and our group's reached out to find assistance for her and help them go that extra mile. In this case here, we have people evidently in a landscaping business, they're have the ability to do it and refuse to do it. And so your patience, I don't have any patience for that. So, yeah, whatever we need to do to move forward with that.
This is 3221?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I got the impression from the first time around that the wife was kind of in charge. That may not be right, but felt like she was the brains of the operation, if you will.
Well, the house is in her name.
Okay.
That may be what it is.
The house is in here.
Yes, it is.
Okay, our next on our list is 2408 and 2410 French Street. I think we've already pretty well covered that. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up on those properties? Now we'll move on to 2318 Pardon Avenue.
Again, we're seeing a little bit of regression in this one. Not nearly as bad as it was, but it's definitely ceased going forward.
That's one I think the board voted last month for me to send a reminder letter, which I did. Not heard a single word from. That was one of the $100 per day fines, if I'm
Yes,
Thank you.
you're correct.
Letter?
Yes, it's one that previously the board had voted didn't get the property in compliance with the ordinances that the board was going to impose a $100 per day fine, which is what they did on the French Street properties. So, board voted to do that, and I notified the property owner of their right to test that or come in and give their side of the story. At the time that the fine was imposed, I don't think that the homeowner came in to address the board. Now he had been here previously. My memory is correct.
Correct, he has been before the board in the
Okay.
past.
Come in previously and basically, I don't recall what all it was that he said at that particular time. But anyway, when we imposed the $100 per day fine, he did not contact me or come to the meeting, give an opportunity to come speak. For some reason or another, chose not to do so.
But was this a certified letter?
We normally, yes, that's what we'll send those to them. Their return receipt requested, so that we know that they got them. Occasionally, if we've not done very many of them, but sometimes we'll have folks that will not sign for the letter. And in those particular situations, we normally try to deliver it personally, whether it be police officers for the city of Owensboro, or, I don't know, Joe, have you ever
I have.
delivered something
I have hand delivered them.
like
yes.
that? But we always try to make sure that, you know, because that's the common thing. Well, I didn't get my mail, or I don't remember getting that. So, you know, we try to keep some record of how and when they did in fact get the letter, so that they were fully aware. Don't want anybody to say that I didn't know anything about it. We try to make every effort they did know about it.
No, one of the things I'm concerned about sending a certified letter is that they might have signed for it, but did they read what they signed for? Have they ever read what they signed for? You just got the letter, but I don't know anything about it.
So, you know,
You
that
know-
I couldn't answer for you. I know only what the law, you know, imposes in a
Uh-huh.
situation like that. You sign for the letter that law considers that you have read it and understand what you're dealing with, basically.
The-
Ignore
The
it.
problem, I mean, it's probably nothing you can do, anybody can do about it, but if a person sign it, you know, they're responsible for it. But I'm looking at the other hand is that, sometimes a letter's scaring a person. I can't read it, or I don't want to read it, but if somebody come by and explain to me what this letter means, maybe I'll take action. Does that make some sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Does make sense, and if I could expand on that just a little bit, through property maintenance, part of our process is to post the notice of violation or the citation, whatever the case. We post that physically on the property. A lot of times that's taping it to the storm door. I've stapled them to boards over the door, that kind of thing, and then I take a picture of it as proof that I've done that. We also mail everything to the property owner of record with PVA. So that's there. In the instance where it's an occupied structure, typically my first contact is to attempt speaking with them. So I'll knock on the door and just try and get them to come and let them know why I'm there.
That's good. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Because some people see a letter or see a piece of paper and kind of scared of that piece of paper, you know, but you come and talk to them, oh, yeah, okay, then I understand what this letter is or what's going on here. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like that, you know. See the letter there, or send that they're kind of scared to say anything or do anything because even reading the letter, they might not understand what it's saying.
Yes. And then there are those people who own the property who know that it's a letter from the city and it's in their post office box waiting for them to come and sign for it. And since it's from the city, they never go sign for it.
Right. I understand that too.
And I'll throw this in as well, that, you know, if we ever ran into a situation, and I'm sure our city, the Board of Commissioners would feel the same way, if we ever ran into a situation where somebody received something that they perhaps were illiterate or, you know, was not of sound mind, so to speak, they didn't understand what they were getting, I would be the first to say we can't proceed on something like this, that, you know, we can't foreclose against a piece of property where the person
And I
honestly
appreciate you saying that.
did not. You know, with my younger days, when I first started the practice of law, I did criminal defense work and often represented folks that were appointed by the courts, couldn't afford an attorney. And I remember that was the first time that I had ever ran into meeting an adult who was completely illiterate, could not read or write, you know, and you know, young attorney really opened my eyes as to the world that some folks were not as fortunate as myself. And so, you know, I've always been one that, you know, I don't want to ever take advantage of a type of situation like that, and the city
Don't
would not
think it doesn't
do that.
happen a lot, because it's still here. And what do we think it's not here, it's still here, you know?
Yes.
There are people out there that's like that.
Yes, yes, there are.
Anything else on 2318 Pardon Avenue? Not, we'll move on to 900 West 13th Street.
Not much progress there either. Did speak with the owner's daughter at her residence, provided an additional copy of the citation because he had attempted to pay the citation for cost for removing the bus from the property. He was on site when they removed it and agreed that, yes, you can take it, and then attempted to pay the citation. Since he did not have any paperwork with him, they had no way to apply it. So I did supply his daughter with an additional copy of the citation. To my knowledge, there's been no attempt to pay that at this time either. As you can see, the house is vacant and it is boarded. That was done by the family. He has had very little, if any, actual cost involved in this property. I know that there was, in the not too distant past, also a death in the family, so there's a brother and a sister working together, and life gets in the way, I guess is the best way to say it. So hasn't been much more progress, but it's definitely not backsliding as far as some of these others. I do anticipate something good coming out of this one.
Any questions or comments on this property? I will move on to 1231 St. Anne Street.
Okay. I'll agree. I don't believe there's been much change, other than I was informed that there's been some caution tape put up around it. Whether that's staying up or not, I can't say for sure. Unfortunately, I am remiss in going by and attempting contact with that owner to let him know of the concern for the construction site that is not adequately protected. I apologize for that. I just let that one slide and haven't gotten there to do that yet.
I know the yellow tape is still up on the porch. I think that was placed there because some kids were playing up there and under the house and stuff. I'd say, but there's been no activity there that I'm aware of.
Anything else on 1231 St. Anne Street? Those were all the properties that we discussed at the last meeting. We do have 3 new ones on the agenda. The first is 910 East Fifth Street.
Okay, 910 East Fifth Street is a terrible situation. All right, I apologize there. The easiest way is just to start and go through it. Back in June of 2019, there was a concern raised regarding a trailer that was not fit to live in. At any rate, there was a report that the interior of the trailer had been stripped down. Photos were attached. And we're able to confirm that, yes, there was definitely some work being done with the trailer. At that time, I did talk with the property owner of record. Stated that, yes, there were repairs going on. They were making repairs, improvements to the trailer. Did recommend that they check on permits to make sure that they were doing everything as they should be. Come to find out that it has been remodeled, done by the property owner's son. Can't say that it worked out very well. Sorry, this is frustrating. Contacted by an officer from OPD that said the place was absolutely nasty and could we do anything about it. Did call again and attempt to speak with the homeowner, who stated that, yes, they did have plumbing problems. They needed help. Made an inspection on site and found the backyard littered with junk and trash, and noticed that there was a very wet area on the corner of the trailer. Turns out that that was raw sewage flowing out from under the trailer to the extent that it crossed the property line. This white material is lime that I went and got. Hopefully put a stop or at least slow down the waste running across the sidewalk. Some of these are children's footprints. DCBS is involved, animal control was involved, the police were involved, everybody has been removed from the structure. Attempting to get them any resources that are available. It's my understanding that everybody is now living in another county. Been back on site since then to secure the property. I've had utilities turned off. And there've been people getting back in it again. When we were on site to do the actual boarding, the morning of the boarding, again had the police on site. The individual was asked to leave the site. Long email with Nelda Sizemore.
She wasn't living, was she living there?
Yes, she was living there with her daughter, her 5 grandchildren, and 7 dogs.
$7.
The people that were living there were the property owner, her daughter, and her daughter's 5 children. Yes, there is no one currently living there. Utilities have been disconnected and the property has been boarded up. During the boarding process, we removed a set of steps so that we could get the board to go from the top of the door all the way down. And there on the ground under the steps were 2 syringes, one of them loaded, the other one empty. Terrible situation. Flies and roaches overran. There was dog feces trampled inside and out, and again, the poor little kids running around in there.
That's when you went back, they were still there?
Yes, on the second visit, they were still there.
Now they're gone,
Now they're gone,
and it's boarded up.
and it's boarded up.
What action can we take?
Trailer repairable?
It's about a 1977 14 by 70 mobile home. Its value is scrap metal price. I don't know
Be
that it's
appropriate
worth
to
it.
put it on a demolition list.
Okay, let's,
She called here late last week, very upset, threatening to sue the city. Joe had trespassed without permission. Anyway, I returned the call and left a message. She called me Monday and, of course, was irate about everything, the same, sue and do all things like that, and so I basically invited her to do so. Explained to her that it had been and that Joe, under city ordinances, had every right to inspect. There was raw sewage on the ground. Animals involved and everything like that. Forth and oh, he turned off my electricity and I lost $1,000 worth of groceries. And I just told me that you were on drawing Social Security and you had $1,000 worth of food that you lost. That yes, the receipt. Things. And he's also talking about how, you know, we spent all this money, you know, newly remodeled and everything. This it was fine to live in, and I, done by relatives. Our uncle was a carpenter or a plumber or something like that. Basically, I told her, I said, well, I said the property has been condemned. I said, you know, since you have been out of there, homeless people have been going in and spending the night. I said, I tell you what, I said, you have your uncle call me, and I said, we'll discuss it. You know, the one that remodeled the property and did all the fixing up. And I said, you know, you have your uncle call me, and I said, we'll meet out there and take a look at this property, and you know, I'll listen to what you have to say. Well, I've not naturally haven't heard a single peep from anybody, but it's another one that, like I said, I don't often go out to the properties, but this was one that I did. But we had 7, 8, 9 complaints that we've received from the neighbors over the last year or so. Yard grown up. There were Dollar General stores about a block or so over from them, and of course she had a couple Dollar General store shopping carts sitting out front. That's how I first became aware of the property. I drive that way to work every morning, and I noticed that there were 2 or 3 bright yellow Dollar General store shopping carts sitting out front. Well, that's real nice. You run off with the shopping carts and everything. Yeah, so anyway, it wasn't a surprise when I got notification as to that property. But anyway, I've been down there. The property right now, as it sits, should have been mowed 2 months ago. It's grass has grown up. You look over, it's got a privacy fence, but if you look over it, there's all sorts of junk there in the yard. But it is one that they need to haul that trailer off and get whatever price they can, scrap metal wise. But right now, Joe said it has been condemned for occupancy. I don't see that changing. I've not been inside the thing, don't want to go inside the thing. I don't know if we'll hear anything more from them on it, but pictures that Joe had sent to me, and going down there and just looking at the outside of it, it was just a disaster.
Do you need a motion to put it on the demolition list and then file a lien on the property cost?
First of all, can we move to put it on a demolition list without them having a hearing, or?
At this particular time, I would recommend to the board that we give a little more time and see if we hear anything more from them. I'm hoping, this was just the daughter, it was not the person that actually owned. I would not mind having an opportunity myself to send a letter to the owner and have them contact me and us find out, you know, what are your intentions for this, that, you know, I could say this is what the city is considering doing. The ongoing condition of the property, raw sewage, yard. My understanding, I don't know if Joe mentioned that social workers are now involved because of the young children. And possibility of drugs, dealing any drugs or doing anything like that, but the fact that you find drug paraphernalia property is pretty telling to me. But I just, at this particular point in time, I would request from the board the opportunity to investigate a little further before.
How long has this been going on?
I've just found out about it in the last 2 weeks.
So it's been like within only 30 days.
First pictures were from June of 19.
June of
Oh, those were
2019 was,
19. Oh, I'm sorry.
that was the ones where the trailer had been gutted and repairs were beginning to start.
Okay. But where was the settlement for the waste
That was July 13th, I believe.
of this year?
Yes.
Demo was like, or they were not demo, but they were remodeling last year.
Correct.
Or had been living in it currently, I guess a few weeks ago.
Yes.
All that has taken place this August.
Yes, everything that the city has done has taken place between July and August.
I like what
Well, she said I was trespassing. However, her mother, Miss Sizemore, the property owner, called me and asked me if I would meet the plumbers on site and remove the boards so that they could see what was needed. Had a call from Frank's Plumbing and Heating and requested that I meet them on site, which I did, remove the boards and walk through with the plumber. He then apparently gave Ms. Sizemore his estimate for repair of the plumbing, which was $12,000. And that would be to completely replumb all water piping, all sewer piping, properly install bathtub faucets and so forth, to do everything correctly. His estimate was $12,000. That's from the plumber that she asked me to allow on site.
Decided to move.
No, they had moved out long before.
how long ago was that?
That was a week ago, roughly.
They have been staying in a motel,
Yes,
based upon the Catholic Charities.
Catholic Charities had put them up in a hotel somewhere for a number of weeks. No, sir, I don't. But by the same token, I can't let it be occupied.
All I think is they need time, not time, long time, but like notification and this is what's coming in.
Yes, and they are also in contact with the folks at the center, and whatever resources are available are being looked at. I don't know that there's going to be that type of money available for repairs for that family. That's a possibility.
I would agree with what you're saying. I mean, last I initially heard 14 months ago was when this thing started, but it sounds like there was intent to do something within the last 2 weeks. So even though it might not be possible, the intent was there. So let's see what they want to do from here.
And this one starting last year, I don't know that it was as big a problem at that time. This was just kind of one like any other that we get notice that, well, yard needs to be mowed, that type of a thing.
Right. At the time,
Time has progressed,
there was nobody living in it, especially no children. So
nobody was living in it at that time.
when they were doing the remodeling, yes.
Okay.
Those early pictures from June of 19, it was not occupied.
Yeah.
I spoke with Miss Sizemore a couple of different times. She cut down all the walnut trees that had grown up in front of the house. They were 5 feet tall there, and she fussed and complained, but she got them cut down and taken care of. Unfortunately, has escalated to the point where it's just not suitable. They were for 3 or 4 weeks. Catholic Charities put them in a motel. I have since been told by a social worker that they're living out of Davis County now with relatives. I believe that's what she also told City Attorney Steve Lynn on the phone, that they were living with relatives.
I'd still like to go away, even though. I'd still like to go peace and order and give it a chance. See what happens, but I like it.
The doors are still boarded up, when I went by there before lunch. As far as I could tell, unless somebody's crawled in a window in the backyard, nobody was living there or anything.
Okay, we'll make contact with them and get another report on it next month. Next property is 807 George Street.
I have right here a very recently signed consent to demolition from that property owner. Apparently, 2 fires was enough, and he's not going to try and rebuild this time. So it will be added to our demo list, and we'll start preparation to get that one taken care of. Fire was, I believe, about the middle of July. She's been a little bit reluctant, but has been working toward getting her salvageable items out of there, and just yesterday signed the agreement. Proceed on with that one.
Which address was it?
807 George.
Oh, 807.
Anything else on that one? Our last property is 3421 St. Anne Street. Is this an old one? Back to life?
No, it's actually fairly recent. It's only a 2020, maybe June or so. Really drastic improvement. There's no vehicles parked in the yard. Brand new fence put up both sides. Whole lot. Third. Process there.
That's behind the fence right now?
Yes. Working toward sorting that out, cleaning up and discarding other items.
Kind of big as today.
Bill?
But they don't know it.
In his words, they're all his vehicles. He's keeping them for his children.
Back up 2 pictures, if you will. First thought is, the person lives across the street. It's across the street. This is what they see every day.
That's not fenced in right there?
No, it is not
That's not
currently
fenced
fenced in. In this picture, it is not.
But it is now,
It is now fenced in.
so that poor neighbor sees the fence now.
Right.
Better than that.
Fenced.
Yeah.
That house is directly behind this car, so.
But we still concerned about what's behind that fence, right?
With the provisions of our ordinance amendment, yes, we are. This is one of those situations where the occupant has gotten rather volatile. Citation was issued, they did appeal the citation, and they have since put up the fence and removed the majority of the items from the yard. He's told me that he fully intends to continue cleaning the stuff up, but he is also very irate that he was issued a citation. He doesn't have the money to pay a citation. You understand?
Yeah.
I assure you, he doesn't have any money to pay a citation now.
That's just a matter of priorities. That's some
Yeah.
of the priorities.
What kind of work does he do?
I honestly don't know. I've heard some people that know him that say he's a pretty good electrician. I'm sorry, I do not know his name. No, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Just as a matter of record, I have been working with him for a good 3 or 4 months, trying to get the items cleaned up, so it's not just something that's recently happened. It's been ongoing for several months.
Has he done any effort of cleaning it up?
He would do a little bit of effort, and then he'd just make it worse. He'd bring in more stuff that make it bad.
So we have offered him citation?
Yes, there is currently a $500 citation, which they have appealed. With the COVID requirements, the appeal is not taking place.
So did he just buy it this year?
I believe that everything I can find looking at the Secretary of State website, this is his mother, who is the originator of this LLC.
Is this sell date April 8th?
April 8th, it transferred from this name to this LLC, which is the same person.
It looks like progress has been made, so we'll just go with it on an appeal whenever we're allowed to have regular meetings again. Any other comments on this property? Not, that covers all the items on our agenda. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Motion, is there a second? All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, any opposed, no, and we're adjourned.